Hello! It is time for my September wrap-up. But first, I'm going to distract you from the fact that I didn't do that well on my reading by making a really fancy drink. Today, because it's technically autumn, but it still looks like summer outside, I'm going to make some autumn sangria, which is a recipe I've only just heard of, and it's American, so half of the stuff on it I don't have, but we're just going to make it up as we go along. So, let's get started. The first thing that you need is 2 sliced apples. Easy. 2 apples. Why does this one not have a stem? Chopping board. Okay, I washed the apples, and I'm going to slice them. The next thing you need is half a cup of dried figs. Figs! But I also now have to figure out what half a cup means in English measurements. I don't know. 2/3 of a cup of Cabernet Sauvignon. Blossom Hill soft and fruity. And now I have to figure out what 2 cups is again. This is not how you do accurate measurements. Smells pretty good though. Help. Aha! This seems dangerous. So next it says 2 cups of apple cider. But here's the thing. It's an American recipe, so they don't know what they mean when they say cider. The best I could do was just apple juice. I know it's not the same thing, but also you guys are missing out on our cider. This, by the way, is a lesson in how not to film a cooking show. What if this spills over the top of that? Damn. Let's try this. Why is nothing big enough? Here we go. Okay, the liquid is now all in the jug. Next up, cinnamon sticks. Yeah, all of my stuff is brand new because I don't do cooking. Making sangria has been the first thing that's tempted me to use this kitchen. That smells very overwhelming. Now I need 1/3 of a tablespoon of cloves and an even tinier amount that I can't quite bother to work out of nutmeg. Nutmeg I can do. Cloves, they didn't sell at Co-op, so I had to buy this spice mix instead that has cloves in it. It also has cinnamon in it, so this is going to be overwhelmingly cinnamony. Yikes. I don't have a tablespoon, so this fella will have to do. And the nutmeg, oh, it smells strong. Everything like that seems so tiny and pointless. Okay, let's add in all of the fruit. It smells really good, actually. And it's done! It's ready! I'm not gonna lie, it smells a little overpowering, but we're gonna give it a go. And for the final touch, you're supposed to top it up with some Prosecco. Crap, does anyone know how to open one of these bottles? Please do not hit the camera lens. I can't do it! Okay, let's do this. Whoa! Even if I say to myself, that looks incredible. In fact, pause because I have to Instagram this. Okay, now for the moment of truth. What is this drink going to taste like? That is good! That is a good drink. Genuinely, I think that's good. 10 out of 10 would drink again. Okay, so now I have my very well made drink in my hand. It is time to begin my September wrap up. Now September was a little bit of a letdown for me. I think it's because August was such a great reading month. I read 14.5 books in August. In September, I only read 5. And 3 halves. I really can't get enough of this drink. So it wasn't as good. But let's go through the 5 books that I did read. The first book that I read in September was A Boy Made of Blocks by Keith Stuart. And I really enjoyed this one. It's about a father who is really struggling to understand his autistic son. Eventually his wife kicks him out of the house, and while he wants to build a better relationship with his family, he finds that he's actually scared of spending time with his son because he just doesn't know how to handle him. The way that the father eventually learns to bond with his son is very interesting. It is through playing the game Minecraft. And what's really great is that Keith Stuart, who wrote this book, based it on his own experiences with his son. And I feel like you can really tell it really comes from the heart. The main thing I loved about this book was how much I learned from it, both about autism, and it was so fascinating hearing about how games like Minecraft can be so beneficial to people with autism, but also I learned a lot about parenthood in general. And I was not expecting how emotional this book would make me, but I cried several times. Second, I went on to read I Am Malala. Now I read this one for the Feminist Orchestra, and I'm really glad I did because it was so interesting. Now it took me a little while to get into this one, and I think I mentioned this in my book club video, because it's not just written by Malala herself, it's also co-written by a journalist. And a lot of the time at the beginning, I felt like Malala's voice was getting swallowed up by that of the journalist, who had to fill in a lot of the context. And all of that was really important because a lot of it I didn't know, but what really shines about this book is when you can really hear Malala's voice come through. Some moments that were so powerful to me were when she was just talking about her conversation conversations with her friends or her fights with her friends, and she just sounded so normal and so childish, and then that's juxtaposed with what an amazingly brave person she is and what she's been through. So while I didn't love every page of this book, I really enjoyed hearing Malala's story in full. I think she's so fascinating and I can't wait to see what she does next. Then came Diversathon, and one of the books I read was None of the Above by I.W. Gregorio. I talked about this one in my Diversathon video, but to sum up, I loved it. It was really great. It's about a high school girl who in her last year of school finds out that she's intersex, and it's about her and her friends and family learning to understand and deal with that diagnosis. And of course, a lot of them do not accept it well at all, but there is a lot of really positive stuff in here as well. And it was just so fun to read. It felt like any other typical, relatable high school novel, just with this experience that I know nothing about. The author herself is not intersex, but she has worked with intersex patients, so she had a lot of really good insight. I loved this one for Diversathon. It was a great introduction to some of the issues faced by intersex people, and I also just loved it as a fun YA. Really recommend. You know what's so fun about this drink is it tastes like summer and Christmas all at once. I guess that's what autumn is, isn't it? So great. The fourth book I read was The Melody of You and Me by M. Hollis. This is a novella, which I've done a full review of, which I will link to. That one didn't take me very long to read at all. It's just really fun, really sweet romance between two girls. Josie is a dancer and Chris has dropped out of college, is working in a bookstore and trying to find what her passion is. And it's just a really lovely story. And then finally, the last book that I managed to finish in September was The Wrath and the Dawn. Now, there are a lot of reasons why I didn't read that much this month, and a big part of it is because I moved house, it was very stressful, I had a lot else going on. But I have to say another reason was because of this book. You know when you're just not enjoying a book, so you're not inclined to pick it up, and it can really slow your reading rate right down? That's what happened here. And it was just so disappointing because everyone said such great things about The Wrath and the Dawn. I was expecting to fall head over heels in love with it, and I just didn't at all. I'd heard it described as a feminist retelling of the 1001 Nights story. That's about a king who marries a new woman every night and has her killed by morning. Then comes along the one woman who manages to stay alive. Now we're into Not Like Other Girls territory, and this did nothing to overturn that. The main character of The Wrath and the Dawn is called Sheryl, and she has volunteered to be married to the king in order to kill him, to avenge her best friend and cousin, who was one of his previous brides who was murdered. But surprise, surprise, she starts to fall in love with the king. And yeah, we find out the reason for why he's killing his brides. We find out that he's not a monster. But she didn't know that when she started to fall in love with him. And she does feel guilt for loving the man who killed her cousin, but it just didn't make sense to me. Why would she love him? It takes quite a lot for me to get invested in love stories. I need them to be real. I need to see you guys have conversations. It doesn't work for me if you meet a few times, think the other one's pretty, and then suddenly are saying, I can't breathe without you, you're my air. I just don't believe it. No part of me was rooting for them. That wasn't love. That was Stockholm Syndrome and confusion. So I'm so sorry and I'm so disappointed because everyone seems to love this book and I so wanted to like it. And the writing is beautiful, the descriptions are so rich and colourful, so that's magical and wonderful. But the story itself I didn't care for, and the characters were very unrealistic and unrelatable. I could never understand why Sheryl was doing the things she was doing. Even the servants, her handmaid, the bodyguards, everything they said would just leave me thinking, why would they have said that right then? I just sadly did not connect to this book in the slightest, so that slowed me down in my September, but I did finish it and I can really see why some people would love it, but it's not for me. I'm not going to be reading the second one. And then that's it. Those are the only 5 books that I managed to finish in September. I am halfway through 3 more, so I'll quickly show you those. I've got Half the Sky, How to Change the World by Kristoff and Sheryl WuDunn. This one so far is fantastic, but I haven't got very far at all. I started it during Diversathon. It's very harrowing and I think that's just stopped me from picking it up because I know that it upsets me so much, but I really do want to keep reading it because what's inside it is so important. So I promise to be brave and pick this one back up. I've also been reading Wonder Woman by Sam Maggs, which I'm absolutely loving. I did a full review of that as well, which I will link to below. This is basically 25 profiles of key women in history who did amazing influential things and then got swallowed up and some man got the credit instead. I'm really enjoying this one and I'm in no rush to finish it because I'm having so much fun just reading one woman every day. And I have also been reading The Mortifications by Palacio. This one is really great so far, I'm really enjoying it. It's about a Cuban family who are torn apart during the Mario boat lift when the mother takes her 2 children to live in the States and the father decides to stay behind. Now, we haven't heard anything more about the father since then, but the blurb tells me that that's coming. But so far, we are following what happens to the mother and her children in the States. And the most intriguing story is that of the daughter, Isabel. Where I'm at so far, she has taken a vow of silence and chastity and decided to become a nun, but before then, she was working in a hospital and earning the nickname the Torch of Death because she believed she could help sick and dying patients to die, and so she would sit by them, whisper in their ears, and they would die. So then she got kicked out of the hospital because people got worried that she was actually killing these patients. So that's what I've been reading in September. And starting from October, I'm going to have a lot to tell you about because I'm about to start my Masters in Women's Studies, so there's going to be a lot of fascinating reading involved in that, I'm sure. Oh, my leg's gone dead. So give this video a thumbs up if you want to hear about those. Comment below if you've read any of the books that I read, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for new videos every Friday. Now I'm probably going to go sit in the garden and enjoy my delicious drink. See you next time! Joe from Little Women, in my heart, will always be gay. Louisa May Alcott, by the way, very interesting woman. If I want to go into town and get this book, first I need to learn how to ride a bike. I'm so nervous.